Hi, I'm Amy Stasiewicz, and welcome to the Minutes. Thanks for tuning in. It's great to have you along on the Minutes for the week of April 5th. This is the City of Thunder Bay podcast. The Minutes looks at what happened at Thunder Bay City Council this past week. You can find the Minutes wherever you get your podcasts, including our YouTube channel and our website, thunderbay.ca/theminutes. And don't forget to subscribe so you never miss an update. This week, City Council met on Tuesday to discuss key topics, including a revised UPass agreement with the Lakehead University Student Union, changes to the city's emergency management program, a recommendation to register tax arrear certificates on a number of properties, and finally, a variety of property-related matters. We'll go over the key highlights from this meeting, and later I'll be joined by Dave Tarini, the newly appointed Chief of Fire for Thunder Bay Fire Rescue, to discuss his experience so far and his plans for the role. So let's get started. First was the consent agenda. It includes previous meeting minutes, as well as minutes from ward meetings and several local boards, such as the CEDC and the Thunder Bay District Health Unit. Council then approved all the consent agenda items. Next were the reports of administration. First up, administration is recommending renewing the UPass agreement with the Lakehead University Student Union. Basically, the program that gives students unlimited access to city transit. The city is recommending a 1-year extension starting September 1st, 2026, while they keep working with LUSU on a longer-term deal. The UPass has been around for over 18 years and is a big part of the transit system. Students currently make up about 40% of ridership. It helps keep costs down for students and encourages more people to use transit instead of driving. There is a proposed 11.5% fee increase, which follows a pricing plan council already approved and keeps things consistent with other student groups. Under the new agreement, the cost would be about $312 for a full year or $206 for a partial term per student. Bottom line, this is a continuation of a well-used, widely supported program with a short-term renewal to give both sides time to figure out the future. Council then approved the report and the changes to the agreement. The next report from administration was a recommendation that City Council authorized the appointment of Dave Tarini to the Chief of Fire for the Thunder Bay Fire Rescue. The Chief of Fire is a statutory officer under the Municipal Act, and it's required that the position be appointed by Council. Council approved the recommendation, and Thunder Bay now has a new Chief of Fire. Next report to Council was about updating the city's emergency management program. Basically, the plan for how Thunder Bay prepares for, responds to, and recovers from emergencies. Council was asked to approve a new bylaw that includes an updated emergency management strategy and emergency response plan, while annulling the old 2021 version. So what's new? The updated plan reflects lessons learned from real events like COVID-19 and brings in modern best practices, including Ontario's incident management system, to improve coordination during emergencies. It also puts a stronger focus on things like climate impacts, supporting vulnerable populations, and making sure roles, training, and decision-making are clear when something happens. Council approved the updated city's emergency management plan. Next up was a report from Corporate Services, where administration is recommending the registration of tax arrear certificates on a number of properties. This report is about properties with unpaid taxes, specifically ones that are more than 2 years overdue. The city is recommending registering what's called a tax arrear certificate on these properties, which officially starts the tax sale process. In total, this affects 162 properties with about $15 million in unpaid taxes. Now, this doesn't mean those properties are being sold right away. Once a certificate is registered, owners have 1 full year to pay everything owed or work out an agreement with the city. It's also important to know that this is considered a last resort. The city typically tries multiple ways to collect before getting to this stage, and in most cases, the taxes are paid before the sale happens. Council approved the recommendation from administration. The next report of administration was a development-focused item from Realty Services. This report recommends selling a city-owned surplus property at 545 Algoma Street North for $749,000 to a developer, with plans to build a multi-residential project. The proposal includes up to 5 buildings with around 240 housing units and potentially some mixed-use space depending on how the project evolves. There are a few conditions attached, like a site plan control agreement and a repurchase clause, which gives the city some protection if the project doesn't move ahead as planned. Overall, this is about turning unused land into new housing, adding supply, and supporting longer-term growth in the city. Council then approved the sale of the property. The next report from the city's Realtor Services Division has been front and center in the community over the past few months. This report is recommending the sale of 3 city-owned surplus properties, including 144 Fanshawe Street, 300 Tokyo Street, and 791 Arundel Street. If all moves ahead, we're looking at roughly 950 new housing units across the 3 sites. That includes about 150 units on Fanshawe and around 400 units each on both Tokyo and Arundel. These projects came out of a broader call for proposals, and the selected developers scored highest based on things like project design, timelines, and overall ability to deliver. Now, there are still a few important steps before anything gets built. 2 of the sites will need zoning changes. All 3 will go through site plan approval, and there are conditions in place like repurchase agreements to make sure the developments actually move forward as promised. A big part of the conversation around this has been balancing the need for more housing with neighborhood concerns such as building height, density, and fit within existing communities. There's been public engagement already, and there will be more opportunities for input, especially where rezoning is required. From a financial perspective, the city would see over $5 million in land sale revenue, plus long-term property tax growth and economic activity from construction. Council requested to vote on each of the 3 properties separately. Each location was then approved by Council for the agreement to sell. The final report from administration is a more behind-the-scenes infrastructure item. This report is about the Beverly Street parking lot, formerly the Thunder Bay Community Auditorium lot, which is now at the end of its lifespan and needs a full rebuild. Council already approved funding for this in the 2026 capital budget, but what's new here is how the city plans to get the work done. Instead of going out for a separate bid, administration is recommending using a negotiated approach to award the work, potentially with the same contractor already working on the nearby T-Baytel multiplex. Doing this as one coordinated project avoids having multiple contractors working in the same space, which reduces safety risks and helps keep costs down by eliminating duplication and extra logistics. It also means the parking areas can be designed together, things like drainage and lighting, so everything works as one system. The project itself includes major upgrades like new asphalt, stormwater improvements, and updated lighting, all with a budget of up to $2 million. Council had a few questions about the process and then approved the method of purchasing. Near the end of the meeting, City Council then reviewed and approved a series of bylaws. The meeting was then adjourned. Okay, so that's it for City Council updates. Next, I'll be chatting with the new Chief of Fire for the Thunder Bay Fire Rescue, Chief Dave Tarini. Today in the Minute Studio, I'm sitting down with the newly appointed Chief of Thunder Bay Fire Rescue, Chief Dave Tarini. With decades of experience from fighting wildfires with the Ontario MNR to rising through the ranks right here in Thunder Bay. Dave brings a deep understanding of the job and the community he serves. We're excited to chat about his journey, leadership, and what's ahead for the fire service in Thunder Bay. Hey, Chief, thanks for joining me today.
Thanks very much for having me, Amy. It's a pleasure to be here.
Are you getting used to the Hey, Chief?
No, not quite yet. It's still pretty new and pretty fresh, but we're pretty busy at Thunder Bay Fire Rescue, so I don't have a lot of time to give any consideration to those little nuances just yet.
Yeah, it's very exciting though. Okay, so to start off, maybe you can share about with our listeners how you got into firefighting in the first place.
Yeah, sure. It's a journey that started back when I was trying to put my way through university. I began doing wildfire fighting with the Ministry of Natural Resources back in 1991. I was only 19 years old. My father worked for the Ministry of Natural Resources as a fire supervisor and got me interested in at least helping get my way through school. And I ended up staying with the MNR and doing that for about 13 years. And at that point in time, I was looking for a little bit of a change of pace. I was getting a little bit worn down with being in the wildland fire game as far as away from home all summer and some of the demands on the body. And mistakenly thought it would be easier moving to shift work and structural firefighting, but I managed to be fortunate enough to apply for a city fire department job, which I was successful in getting in the fall of 2003. So shifted over from wildland to structural, and then spent the last 23 years here with the city with Thunder Bay Fire Rescue. So that's the journey over the past, I guess, 35 plus years that's gotten me from then to here sitting talking with you today.
Right. So you said your dad was with the MNR too.
Yes. My dad did about 30 years with the Ministry of Natural Resources. He's been retired almost 30 years. So I guess that's what you would consider winning when you get to enjoy retirement for as long as you worked. So
that's awesome.
Yeah.
Can you tell us a bit more about your experience with wildfires?
Wildland firefighting is an extremely rewarding career for those interested in the fire service. I had a lot of very good memories. I had made a lot of good friends with the Ministry of Natural Resources. There's a bunch of fantastic people that I worked with along the way. Some are retired now, some are still working there. It's a very good opportunity for young folks to get out, travel across not just the province and the country, but internationally to fight fires and to help out places and communities that are under threat from wildfire. You get a tremendous amount of excellent training along the way. It's just a really good skill set to have, and it's a very specific vocation that was a very benefit. It was certainly a benefit to myself, and I can't recommend it any more highly to those looking to sort of break into the fire service.
Right.
It's fantastic.
Yeah. And when you made that switch, you said to shift work with the Thunder Bay Fire Rescue, can you explain a bit about those early days?
It was a little bit different. I was certainly not used to it. With the Ministry of Natural Resources, Amy, it's your schedule is all over the map. It just depends on how busy the fire season is and where you're being deployed. So as far as your schedule with days off is concerned, you never know when you're going to get a day off.
Right.
However, having said that, you know that wherever you go, you're generally going to be able to sleep through the night and get that rest period. That's pretty much a guarantee. Whether you're sleeping in a tent or in a hotel or at your own house if you're still on your local base. But when I shifted over to the fire rescue service and began working on shift, 24-hour shifts and on shift, it was certainly a change for me working night shift. But you get used to it. Your body gets used to any shift schedule, but it took a little bit, certainly.
I just have a question. So on those long shifts, what was your signature meal to make for the crew? Isn't that something, do you all take turns?
Yeah, they all take turns. We would sometimes do pasta meals or homemade pizza was a favorite of mine to make for the crew at the station.
Yeah.
Just sort of bring in all the different ingredients, or everybody would clean out their fridge at home
Yeah.
and bring just a mishmash of random things to the hall, and we'd spend some time together, chatting, laughing, having a good time, and making a meal together. So that's probably the most memorable ones that I can remember is the pizza night at the halls.
Yeah, that's awesome. What's changed the most in firefighting since you started?
I think in general, I would say we've progressed quite a bit. The challenges are still there. The types of fires we have are still very dangerous. The types of building construction has certainly changed to make that firefighting environment more dangerous for our staff. But I will say that the overall preparedness level that I see now with the fire rescue, with the firefighters, the amount of training that goes in, the certifications that are now required, not just by the department, but provincially, has sort of, it's elevated the professionalism and the level of service that we're able to provide. And I see that as being, certainly a significant change over the past, 23 years ago when I walked in the door. It certainly wasn't on everyone's radar as much to pay that much attention to training and preparedness. The equipment that we use has certainly gotten a lot better from 23 years ago.
Yeah.
Lots of advances in technology with thermal imaging cameras and the aerial ladders or aerial devices that we use, some of the capabilities that the pumper trucks have, the self-contained breathing apparatus. Our SCBA units are much better, more advanced. Our gas detection monitors, all those kinds of devices have progressed along in the fire service in general, and we've been a beneficiary of that. So
yeah. Wow, that's great. Yeah, I didn't even really think about all the new technology, how that would help your crew.
Yeah, absolutely. And like I said, I'd like to give a shout out. The firefighters have been really good in embracing the changes in level of training required and the amount of necessity there is for that. Our training division puts in a tremendous amount of effort, sort of keeping us on the front edge, if you will, for firefighting tactics and the best techniques that are out there in order to service the community, extinguish fires, but also keep our staff safe at the same time. So rolling all those considerations into one ball and moving forward. So it's a testament to the level of training, our training staff, and all our firefighters for sure.
Wow. Okay. And speaking of training, I was just thinking, are you recruiting right now, or is that process over?
Thunder Bay Fire Rescue does recruitment generally every 2 or 3 years in intervals. So what happens, Amy, is we will put a recruitment drive into place that involves several stages, from physical fitness tests, written tests, resume, handing in resumes, doing interviews. At the conclusion of that recruitment process, we assemble a hiring list, and then depending on what we have for our overall complement, we will hire as necessary off that list. So the current list we've hired once off of last year, and we haven't decided yet. We have to look and see how many retirements we might have, how many vacancies before we make that decision to hire again. But the current list will be in place for at least another year, if not longer. We'll have to make that decision prior to going through the process again to assemble a brand new list.
Interesting. I won't be applying, but I was just curious.
Yeah.
Okay, so what are some of your top priorities right now stepping into your new role?
We have quite a bit on the go right now. Mandatory legislation is coming down the pipe from the provincial, from the province. We are in relatively good shape as far as meeting those compliance requirements, but we still have a little bit of work to do. And then staff wellness, making sure our staff are safe, not just from the physical parts of the job, but their mental health and well-being as well. We're paying a lot more attention. We have a lot better awareness now of what's involved with that. And back to the physical safety of our staff, cancer prevention is big on our list now. We're seeing more and more of a need to protect staff from carcinogens and different chemicals that they will be exposed to at fire events. And so we're putting more and more priority on those cancer prevention initiatives.
Wow. Yes. That's so true. And you know what? People don't realize, but you do hear about things later on with cancer.
Yeah,
issue.
absolutely.
Yeah.
We've seen that over my career. I've seen it time and time again. And what we're trying to do is make it so that 20, 30 years from now, we have seen a substantial reduction in the amount of claims for people who've succumbed to work-related cancers. So
right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, hopefully it gets better.
Yeah, we're hoping so. It's all to do with education, awareness, but we as an employer have a major role to play in the type of policies that we put in place, the type of protective equipment that we provide our staff, and just the emphasis on the need to decontaminate and to provide our staff the ability to do that safely. We all have to work together on this one for sure.
Yeah, great point. Okay, so what's something people might misunderstand about firefighters?
Firefighters, that's a really good question. I would say you put me on the spot. I would say that firefighters are also human, right? So there's a misnomer either through Hollywood movies or just legend and lore that firefighters can come in, solve any problem, and quite often we're successful in doing that. We take and when I was on the trucks and still today, the staff take great pride in showing up at someone's address, someone who's in trouble and needs help, and trying to help walk them through their problem and solve their problem. Sometimes we're not able to see a successful outcome,
right.
But at the end of the day, those firefighters aren't just big, tall individuals wearing bunker gear, and they have some they have emotion, they have families, they have friends at home, they have pressures that are put on them in their personal lives, and they do their best. But some of the nature of emergency response, both for our firefighters and for our comrades in the police and the ambulance service, the EMS service in town, the nature of emergency response has changed across the province. The types of calls that our first responders are seeing and the types of things they're being exposed to are certainly changing and not in a good way.
Yeah.
So they need continual support. We need to find ways to support our staff better and make sure that people know that police officers, paramedics, firefighters, nobody's invulnerable to some of those pressures from a mental health standpoint.
Right. Totally.
Yeah.
And people might not realize, like, a fire truck, say there's an accident on the highway, like, aren't you there usually the first ones there?
Quite often, yeah. We'll respond, paramedics, police, fire. That's a good example, Amy, of an incident that would occur that would have all three agencies responding to.
Right.
And quite often it's hard to gauge who will be first on scene, but all three agencies are certainly exposed to what you might see at a significant or complex motor vehicle accident. So yeah, there's lots of potential exposure there for sure.
Yeah. Okay, and anything else you want to share, or is there a message you have for the community about fire prevention, or just general? Yeah,
fire prevention is a big issue and something that we'd like to push. We have a very strong fire prevention division, and what we'd like to do is see people helping themselves, right? Being more aware and better educated on some basic fire prevention principles, whether that's cooking safety, home fire escape planning, the importance of checking smoke and CO alarms. All of those things kind of roll into one. There's a very common saying in the fire service that we're based on three main principles, and the very first pillar is fire and life safety education. That's number one. That's where we're going to see the most gains in overall community safety. Mm-hmm. So all of that we're going to be pushing for quite a bit, and trying to get that education out there. Before we get to the compliance or enforcement, which is the second pillar, and all the way down, the third pillar is response. If we can lessen the amount of fires and responses that our firefighters are going to, that's a win, right? We want to do that through good, positive public education and safety education and messaging. So
Yeah.
that's the main goal. We'd like folks to just be aware if they're unsure of things related to fire safety. Reach out to your nearest fire station. Drop by. Bring your kids. Let them see the truck. The firefighters are more than happy to receive visitors and let the kids check out some of the gear on the trucks and then convey some of that safety messaging to people so that they're perfectly clear on how to keep themselves safer.
Right. Okay. Amazing. Okay, so finally I want to say congrats again on your new role, and thanks to you and your team for keeping our community safe.
We appreciate your kind words.
Okay, awesome. Thanks.
Yeah, you're welcome.
That's it for this week's episode of The Minutes. A big thank you to Chief Dave Tarini, the new Chief of Fire for the Thunder Bay Fire Rescue, for joining us. And as always, thanks for listening. If you haven't already, hit that subscribe button so you never miss an update. I'm Amy. Thanks again for listening to The Minutes, and have a great week.